Well, I think that thanks to all of you, we passed Amendments 5 and 6, which passed by 63%. And for those of you who don't know, what Amendments 5 and 6 said was that any new districts that are drawn have to take into account the city lines, the county lines have to be compact. So the idea behind 5 and 6 is that we shouldn't have gerrymandered districts. An important other part about 5 and 6 is that no incumbent shall draw a district to favor themselves. So I'm hopeful that Amendments 5 and 6 will be enforced, and therefore redistricting will not be as much of a partisan problem this year. But even in the event that it's not, I think everybody's of the consensus that our courts will end up being the ones who will redraw our districts. So I would hope that the courts will also not be partisan when they draw the districts. Thank you.
First of all, the purpose of the redistricting is to make sure that there is some balance. Traditionally, and this goes to the whole gerrymandering issue, the party currently in power wants to keep things the same, and the party not in power wants things to change to create more balance. Right now, I don't know what the exact number is, but I believe there's upwards of 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 more registered Democrats in the state of Florida than Republicans, and yet, in both chambers of our state Congress, the Republicans outnumber the Democrats by a 2-to-1 ratio. So certainly it doesn't seem like that balance has been created. That said, since, as Representative Berman mentioned, 5 and 6, those amendments make sure that there is no specific favoritism paid to either political party. At the very least, it might create some balance. I know that the Democrats are not homogeneously distributed throughout the state of Florida, and I don't think that there will be a change in the majority versus the minority at this time. But currently, the minority party does not even have a procedural vote on the floor of the House or in the Senate chamber, and that doesn't really create the same type of balance or checks and balances that we expect. When this was first being discussed, I happened to be speaking with my colleague, Representative Hager, and his response was, well, yeah, there's a lot more registered Democrats, but see, even they're voting for Republicans. And I felt like Seth Meyers on Saturday Night Live. I went, really? Really? I said, you know, that's like saying that somebody with a crummy job doesn't quit because they like having a crummy job. They don't have a choice. Well, again, we want to make sure that voters in Florida have a choice. And that would be to have some balance between the availability of both Democrat and Republican candidates in the various areas of Florida, so we do create some balance in the legislature.
Well, my daughter just drew the maps for the city of Delray Beach. But honestly, in regards to redistricting, the bottom line is you need to have good candidates from both sides of the aisle. There are good Republicans and there are good Democrats, and there are bad Republicans and there are bad Democrats. And since we're here visiting the Chamber, what we hope is that the Chamber of Commerce will help us get some good candidates who will put forth some good business interests.
Just so that we know the timetable, on Monday, the maps are coming out. So these are public, and the process has been pretty much transparent. And it's important that everyone is able to take a look at the maps, because they will be voted on in 2 weeks. We have a redistricting committee meeting in the Senate, and we'll be looking at the maps for congressional, House, and Senate districts. So, but you will be able to have a chance to see those maps on your computer. And as they come out, each map will be chosen by the committee in the Senate, at least for the Senate, and we'll vote on it, yay or nay. And then it goes, after that, it'll go to the full Senate floor once we begin meetings from January 10th. First order of business in the Senate will be to vote on the maps as presented to us by the committee. These maps have been drawn by the public, also by interested groups. So I think this is a pretty transparent way of doing it. I have been on the committee for a while now, and of course I would like to be able to draw my own maps the way I would like to, but that's not legal. It's not ethical. It's not legal. So it comes from the people, and hopefully the process has been transparent enough. And if anybody needs any help in finding these maps on your computer, talk to my legislative aide. He'll be able, you can call my office and we can help you get on the site, or we can send the maps to you either by fax or email.
Don't be fooled that the map process, drawing process, is the biggest thing you have to watch. We're all going to participate at some point and take a vote on the final maps. But keep in mind, it's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue. Democrats held the state of Florida for something like 140 years. So we're just as guilty when given the opportunity of protecting our share of the power. The question that you need to pay attention to has nothing to do with what the courts generally are going to decide what the maps are going to be, and that's thanks to you in Amendments 5 and 6. The issue you need to watch is those maps that are coming out, how they're going to be used as leverage to move along other agendas. So if you happen not to agree with the speaker, and you happen to be a Republican, and there's another Republican who lives in the similar area, and the speaker needs the other Republican's vote, or the one that doesn't agree with him, I should say, they're going to show a map. And don't think for a minute that's not going to be used as leverage to move agendas around. And so that's the bigger issue. That's why we're holding it to the end of session. Pay attention to everything else. Don't allow all your focus to be on the maps. They're going to be drawn. The courts are going to decide. Our job is to be political.
Just a couple of observations. One is, Mr. Bernard, that map that your daughter drew that just happens to encompass most of your district currently, that would not be eligible. So there's not ambiguity in it. The other observation, just to follow up on Senator Sachs, there have been about 25, count them, 25 hearings throughout the state of Florida. I'm sure that's a state record for this process. The other thing to keep in mind is redistricting has been around since the beginning of the Republic. Since 1800 was the first redistricting, which means if you do the math, it's been done 21 times. It's always a slugfest. And in this state, there are 92,000 lawyers. 92,000 lawyers. So if you ask the probability that litigation will ensue, it's over 100%. So of course this stuff will be litigated. Don't be upset when you see the litigation. It's 100% predictable. It's just a slugfest. And ultimately the courts probably will decide. Thanks.